Elizabeth Bathory, often referred to as the Blood Countess, is one of history's most notorious 16th century figures, shrouded in a blend of fact and legend. Though she belonged to a powerful noble family in Eastern Europe, her life took a dark turn as she became infamous for her alleged crimes against young women, with accusations ranging from torture to unaliving.
So let's dive into the life and legacy of the noble woman whose insatiable thirst for youth and beauty led to a reign of terror that has captivated and horrified generations.
Nurse Lee will be coming in to draw your blood.
I'm ready.
What are you up to, Agent Wells?
I decided to participate in the blood drive.
That's great. So I shouldn't tell you about our case covering the Blood Countess who liked to bathe in blood then, right?
Yikes!
Ugh.
That'd be faded. Hey, if you're new here, welcome.
It's your girl, Shiva.
And I'm Ed, and we are Studio 7.0, and that was our Crime Force AI investigation team. They're going to be answering some questions later that get thrown to them. So until that time, we wanted to say this is for
education and entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and always be kind to everyone.
And if you like true crime, but you also like some creepy stuff, we have a new show called The Jump Scare, where we watch scary videos with you guys, and we throw in our own custom jump scares to kind of get the adrenaline going. So if you're curious about that, let's just do a quick little preview, and then we'll be right back.
We got you.
Join us at The Jump Scare, where we watch and react to scary and strange videos. But there's a twist. As you watch, we throw in our own jump scare videos to keep you on your toes. Do you have nerves of steel? Prove it by taking our challenge for some added fun. Watch with a full mug of water, preferably with our logo on it, and see if you can stay steady and dry. Please be safe by keeping the water at room temperature and holding the cup away from anything that can be ruined, like electronics. Let us know if you kept your cool or ended up all washed up. All right, we're back, and today we're going to watch a quick little video react to it, because lately we've been really wanting to promote creators. There's a lot going on in the creator world, and I think it's just great giving it back and helping each other out. This is called Arc of Mysteries. Please go over there and subscribe, like, comment, and share. I want to give full credit to them and what they're doing. So let's get into the video. Okay, let's start the video, and then Crime Force will get some questions rolling for us. Here we go.
Let's do it.
She is known by many as the cruelest vampire to have ever existed, more sadistic and ruthless than Vlad Tepes himself, the infamous Count Dracula. Yes, you've likely heard of her, Elizabeth Bathory, the Blood Countess, a woman who, according to legend,
freaky,
turned her castle into a true scene of horrors.
Wow.
But is everything they say about her true?
Yeah. Wow,
why would such a powerful and influential
cool,
figure
AI.
become one of the most notorious names in the history of terror? In this video, we'll travel to 16th century Hungary, a place where power knew no bounds, and where rumors could destroy reputations or hide dark truths.
Yeah, let's see
we'll
what's real,
delve
what's
into
not.
Elizabeth's origins, her alleged crimes, and the theories that challenge everything you think you know about her. Was she a ruthless murderer or a victim of the political intrigues of her time? Backslash and backslash. And if you enjoy stories filled with mystery, power, and cruelty,
yes, please go over to help them out.
Yeah.
What you're about to discover might change everything you believe about the Blood Countess.
That's like we do.
Stay with us until the end of this video, because you won't want to miss a single detail of this chilling tale. Hungary in the 16th century. To understand who Elizabeth Bathory was, it is essential to return to the historical context of her time. In the 16th century, Hungary was a territory in constant conflict, divided among the Ottoman Empire, the Kingdom of the Habsburgs, and the Principality of Transylvania. The region experienced geopolitical and religious tensions. While Catholicism and Protestantism vied for influence, the feudal system consolidated the power of the nobility,
Look at the way they
creating
dress
a
back
deeply
then.
unequal society. It was in this turbulent setting that Elizabeth was born in 1560 in the town of Berbather in Transylvania. The daughter of an influential Protestant family, she grew up surrounded by privilege and responsibility.
So she wasn't
From
poor,
an
that's
early
for sure.
age.
Yeah, royalty,
She received
There's
a
a lot of
refined
influence
education,
in the family.
learning languages such as Hungarian, Latin, and Greek, rare
imagine?
skills for women of her era.
Wow.
However,
Because they weren't
her
taught
childhood
usually
was
as
not
much.
without difficulties. Elizabeth suffered from seizures and fits of rage,
She almost looks like Queen
conditions that the
Elizabeth a little
medicine
bit
of the
there.
time barely understood. These health issues aroused curiosity and fear among those around her. Some speculated that her erratic behavior was a sign of supernatural influences or even family curses.
Anytime people
However,
don't understand anything,
It is also
they're gonna
possible
go right
that these
to
episodes
supernatural
were
these days.
exacerbated by a family environment as
Especially back
powerful
then,
as it
how-
was dysfunctional.
Oh yeah.
The combination of exceptional education and the shadow of psychological problems shaped an intriguing, enigmatic, and dark personality. Moreover, the power wielded by her Protestant family in a predominantly Catholic region further intensified the tensions surrounding her figure. Transylvania, considered a strategic point, was at the center of political and religious disputes, placing the young Elizabeth in a position of both privilege and vulnerability.
Crazy.
It was a world where power and fear went hand in hand, and Elizabeth grew up learning to navigate this dangerous terrain.
She was
This,
smart too.
combined with
You
her position
understand.
of privilege,
Yeah.
shaped a complex
She had the
and
education
enigmatic
behind her, that's
personality.
Yep.
The
absolutely.
beginning of the tragedy. Elizabeth Bathory was only 15 years old when she married Ferenc Nadesty, a man
imagine?
11 years her
That sounds
senior,
about right back then.
infamous
They
for his
married early,
brutality
right?
on the battlefield,
Yep.
earning him the title of the Black Knight. The union between Elizabeth and
That's a
Ferenc
whole
was
other
strategically
story,
arranged,
The Black Knight.
strengthening political alliances between two
like those
powerful
roses at the
noble
time.
families. Although she was a young woman with an extensive education, Elizabeth now found herself in a world even more marked by intrigue and violence. Letters exchanged between the couple revealed that Ferenc not only tolerated Elizabeth's severity, but also encouraged it. Ferenc's absence, due to military campaigns, left Elizabeth in absolute control of the family's estates. This period marked the beginning of escalating behaviors that would transform her reputation into infamy. Workers and servants of the castle began reporting extremely harsh punishments,
Very evil.
creating an atmosphere of fear and submission.
Probably out of
Elizabeth,
frustration and
it seems,
mental issues.
embraced her
Yeah.
position of authority with an
She
iron
had that
fist,
control.
Yes,
something that
had the
started
power.
to spark rumors about her true nature. The castle of Countess, which initially symbolized the wealth and prestige of the
What a
Nadesty
name.
family,
Cactus.
gradually became a place of mystery and terror. Small reports of disappearances and inhumane punishments began to circulate among nearby villages. While Elizabeth managed the lands, she also solidified a reputation that caused her to be feared by both her servants and the local population. The death of Ferenc in 1604 was a turning point. Without her husband, Elizabeth became even more independent and, according to witnesses of the time, also more cruel.
Yeah.
The absolute power she wielded as a noble widow allowed her to act without significant consequences, reinforcing her fame
she had
as
nobody
a
to
dark figure. Thus,
Answer to.
what began as rumors of strict discipline evolved into disturbing stories that, over time, cemented her place in history as the Blood Countess, the quest for eternal youth. The crimes attributed
That's
to
so
Elizabeth
common with people in
Bathory
power. They
continue
want
to
to live
shock
forever.
due to their
Oh, yeah.
cruelty
Or look
and
beautiful.
the number
or-
of victims involved. Historical
They love their
accounts
lifestyle, that's
indicate
why.
that
Yeah.
Elizabeth lured young
Top of the
peasant
chain.
girls to Countess Castle with
I think it's
promises of
normality,
work
though,
and
for
protection.
those to think that way.
However, these girls, usually between the ages of 10 and 14, ended up trapped in a cycle of suffering. The methods included beatings, burnings, and brutal punishments, which turned the castle into a true scene of horrors. Witnesses report that many of these girls did not survive to tell their stories.
They could have just been
The
sick,
extreme
pleasure,
violence
and torture.
did not stop there. According to testimonies collected during investigations, Elizabeth used needles to inflict suffering on her victims, in addition to subjecting them to icy baths in the harsh Hungarian winter, which often led to death by hypothermia. There are also records of bodies being left to decompose in dungeons,
That's gross.
creating an atmosphere of permanent terror in the castle. Such practices contributed to the consolidation of her infamy as the Blood Countess. One of the most persistent legends is that Elizabeth bathed in the blood of her victims to
Because it's
preserve
so
her
outrageous.
youth. Although this story is
in
widely
the
considered an
blood.
exaggeration or
Disgusting.
even a fabrication, it reflects the image of a woman obsessed with beauty and power. This narrative,
Yeah.
amplified over
I
the
can see that today
centuries,
too.
helped transform Elizabeth into an almost mythological
not the
figure,
blood and
solidifying the
power, but
idea that Elizabeth Bathory was,
the beauty
in
and the
fact,
power.
a vampire.
They just
Despite the lack of concrete
another
evidence
bruise of how
regarding
they
these
do it.
supposed bloodbaths, the idea remains a central
The
part of the
AI
myth.
tool they have
It
here
is estimated that
excellent
Elizabeth was
quality.
responsible
Isn't
for
it?
the deaths of around 650
Beautiful.
young girls, a number that,
150?
if true, would place her among the most prolific
I like that
serial
one.
killers in history. However, historians still debate the accuracy of these figures, suggesting that some may have been inflated to justify her conviction. Regardless, the crimes attributed to Elizabeth Bathory remain one of the darkest chapters in European history, evoking horror and fascination to this day. The trial and imprisonment. The year 1610 marked the beginning of the end for Elizabeth
So
Bathory.
not getting the
The accusations against her, which had been circulating for years, finally reached the ears of King Matthias II. Concerned by the magnitude of
to
the
the
rumors,
king.
the monarch ordered Georgi Thurzo, Palatine of Hungary and a man of his trust, to lead an official investigation. Thurzo assembled a
believe it?
team
Goes
and,
up to the king.
upon searching the castle
Wow.
of Cactus,
I mean, it's
found
really
shocking
bad.
evidence. Human remains and instruments of torture, which seemed to confirm macabre stories spreading throughout the region. The testimonies collected during the investigation were equally horrifying. More than 300 people, including servants, priests, and local residents, described the cruel acts committed by the Countess and her accomplices. The statements range from accounts of missing young girls to detailed descriptions of torture. Despite the extent of the
So a lot
accusations,
of-
the
lot of
absence of written
information.
records directly linking Elizabeth to the crimes raised questions about the full credibility of the testimonies, fueling conspiracy theories. Due to her noble origin, Elizabeth escaped the death penalty, but this did
Can't
not
believe
mean
it.
impunity.
Even back then,
In 1611,
get away with
she
it.
was sentenced
I mean, you
to
know what I'm
life
saying.
imprisonment and confined to a room in her own castle. The conditions were severe. The makeshift cell had only small openings for light and air, and she had no contact with the outside world. Even so, the decision to spare her life sparked controversy, with many viewing it as an attempt to protect the reputation of the Hungarian nobility.
I don't know.
While
to me, that
Elizabeth
to me
faced
is-
her solitary confinement, her accomplices met a far different fate. Dorothea Semtesh, Ilona Jo, Katerina Benicka, and Janos Ujiri were tried and sentenced to death. The executions were public and brutal, serving as a clear message about the severity of their crimes. Elizabeth
Those
died in
humongous
1614
crosses.
after 4 years of isolation, leaving behind a story full of mysteries
But-
and controversies.
sometimes
Serial
living those
killer or
cruel-
victim of conspiracy, the figure of Elizabeth Bathory is shrouded in mystery.
I was gonna say,
And it is no
sometimes being in that
surprise
little
that
cell
many
is more
historians
torture in
question
those
the
conditions than
veracity
getting
of the
killed and
crimes
just being
attributed
over
to her.
with.
Oh yeah, definitely.
While some
She's still
evidence points to a cruel
every
murder,
day.
others suggest that Elizabeth was the target of a political conspiracy. As a wealthy and Protestant woman
Possible.
in a predominantly Catholic society, she was seen as a dangerous anomaly.
They're like, hey, I want her
Her
land, I want her
influence and
title, I want her
control over
money.
vast properties could have represented a
Somebody
challenge
mentioned
to the
king,
established
hey,
order,
this
making
is
her an
the low-hanging
ideal
fruit,
target
go
for
in and grab
intrigue.
her.
The evidence presented
it
against
over.
Elizabeth during her trial has been the subject of much debate. Many historians believe that testimonies gathered under torture were unreliable and that some material evidence, such as the bodies found, might have been fabricated. Moreover, the absence of direct records linking Elizabeth to the crimes raises suspicions about the true motivation behind her conviction. It was more convenient to paint her as a murderer to justify the seizure of her lands and wealth. Another controversial point is the issue of gender. In a time when women rarely held political or economic power, Elizabeth was an unusual figure.
Right.
Her status as a wealthy and independent widow placed her in a vulnerable position, open to attacks. Many believe her wealth and influence were seen as threats by her male contemporaries, and the accusations of monstrous crimes were used to discredit her and remove her from the political stage. Finally, the transformation of Elizabeth Bathory into a myth, portraying her as a creature of the night, such as a vampire, has also contributed to the perpetuation of doubts about her guilt.
If she likes blood.
Stories about her alleged bloodbaths and extreme cruelty were amplified over the centuries, often without concrete historical basis. This raises the question, was Elizabeth truly the greatest serial killer of her time? Or was she a victim of circumstances in a system that could not tolerate powerful women?
Let's see what I'm
The
curious
debate
what the crime
remains
force team
open,
has to say as well.
keeping her story alive and controversial. The legend that endures. The figure of Elizabeth Bathory has transcended the boundaries of history and entered the popular imagination, establishing herself as one of the most controversial and enigmatic characters of all time. Her supposed obsession with blood and the crimes attributed to her have inspired countless literary and cinematic adaptations. Works exploring horror and the supernatural often find in Elizabeth a starting point, associating her with the vampire myth and the insatiable quest for eternal youth. These narratives, though often exaggerated, perpetuate the idea of a woman who lived between reality and legend. The Castle of Cactus, which was the stage for the accusations and mysteries,
like that might be more recent.
today attracts visitors from all over the world.
That's crazy.
Its ruins evoke both the grandeur of the past and the horror that permeates the legend of the Blood Countess. Tourists and historians search this site for traces of truth, hoping to better understand who Elizabeth Bathory was.
Exactly.
Furthermore,
Like you said, it's
the aura of
partial.
mystery surrounding her story continues to be explored in documentaries, reinforcing her position as one of the most controversial figures of medieval Europe. Over the centuries, the line between fact and fiction in Elizabeth's case has grown increasingly blurred. For some, she was an unprecedented murderer whose actions defy any rational explanation. For others, she was a victim of the circumstances and the political context of her time, used as a scapegoat by those seeking power and wealth. This duality is what makes her story so fascinating and still so relevant today. The Blood Countess is a fascinating example of how history and legend intertwine.
All right, we'll stop there, but that was very, very well done. Excellent channel. Let's go back. Art of Mysteries does great. I love the AI. I have to check out and see what AI. There's so many cool AI tools out there.
Exactly.
But that one was really, really, really good.
It took him a long time to do that, I can tell.
Oh, I know. All those videos keep things moving. I tell you, great background. I'm curious if the Crime Force team can pull out even more insights that because when it goes back to that far back, as you know, when we look and investigate some of these older, it's hard to get a lot of information on it. Okay, with such an amazing story, what 3 things about Elizabeth Bathory are known to be true?
Oh, that'd be interesting to know.
That's good. Yeah, because let's see what they have to say.
Number 1, Birth and Nobility. Elizabeth Bathory was born on August 7, 1560, in Nyírbátor, Hungary, into a prominent noble family. She belonged to the House of Bathory, which was influential in the region and had connections to various royal families across Europe. Her lineage included significant figures such as her uncle Stephen Bathory, who became King of Poland. This noble background provided her with wealth, education, and social status. Number 2, accusations of unaliving and torture. Bathory is infamously known for being accused of torturing and unaliving numerous young women during her lifetime. Historical accounts suggest that she may have been responsible for the deaths of over 600 girls between 1590 and 1610.
600?
These allegations were investigated by her cousin Georgie Thurzo, who gathered testimonies from local residents that supported claims of her brutal actions. Although some modern historians debate the accuracy of these accusations, they are well documented in historical records from the time. Number 3. Imprisonment until death. After the investigations into her alleged crimes, Elizabeth Bathory was arrested on December 30, 1609. While her servants were put on trial and executed for their roles in the alleged atrocities, Bathory herself was never formally tried but was confined to her chambers at Castle Cactus until her death on August 21, 1614. This confinement marked a significant end to her life as a powerful figure in Hungarian nobility.
Interesting. So what the crime force clarified was that she wasn't found guilty, but wasn't put on trial, but just kind of like, that leaves more to the sense that this was also politically motivated. It's almost like to push her off to the side and say, listen, we won't try you, but you're going to be stuck in the castle. But by the way, we're going to take over everything. And 600, wow, that's a huge number. There were some interesting tidbits there. Yeah.
And what was the reason behind the 600?
We don't know. That I think that lends to the whole mystery. Was Elizabeth Bathory a real vampire in today's standards? Meaning like the way people perceive it, I guess, today.
The most notorious claim against Elizabeth Bathory is that she bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth and beauty. While this notion has become a central part of her legend, it lacks substantial historical evidence and is often considered exaggerated or fabricated by her contemporaries or later storytellers seeking sensationalism. The accounts from her time suggest that she did engage in brutal acts against young women but do not substantiate the idea that she was a vampire in any literal sense. In modern popular culture, Elizabeth Bathory has been romanticized and fictionalized in various media forms, films, books, etc., as a vampire figure due to her association with bloodshed and youth preservation myths. However, these portrayals are not grounded in factual history but rather reflect contemporary fascinations with horror tropes. While Elizabeth Bathory's life inspired tales that align with modern vampire mythology, particularly due to her alleged obsession with blood, there is no credible evidence to classify her as a real vampire by today's standards.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Her story reflects more on societal fears and historical context than on actual vampiric behavior.
That's a good question, because in today's standards you'd say, okay, she would be considered kind of like a vampire, but
anytime it's something with blood, they always want to attach it.
Yeah, everything goes right to it. Could bathing in blood actually help you stay young? This is more of a scientific, I guess, question.
The idea of bathing in blood, particularly animal blood, as a method for rejuvenation or anti-aging is steeped in folklore and sensationalism rather than scientific evidence. While there are historical anecdotes and modern media portrayals that suggest such practices might yield youthful benefits, the reality is far more complex and largely unsupported by credible scientific research. Recent scientific studies have explored the effects of certain components found in blood, particularly focusing on platelet-rich plasma, PRP, therapy. PRP involves using one's own blood to extract plasma rich in platelets, which are known to contain growth factors that can promote healing and potentially improve skin appearance when injected into the face.
That's interesting.
This procedure has gained popularity among celebrities but is fundamentally different from soaking in animal or human blood.
Beautiful.
Research involving heterochronic parabiosis, where young and old mice are surgically joined, has shown some intriguing results regarding aging and regeneration. Studies indicate that young blood can positively affect older organisms' health markers, such as improved wound healing and increased nerve cell growth. However, these findings are primarily observed in controlled laboratory settings with animal models and cannot be directly translated to humans or to the practice of bathing in blood. Bathing in untested animal blood poses significant health risks due to potential exposure to pathogens, bacteria, or diseases that could be present in the blood. Unlike PRP treatments performed under sterile conditions using one's own blood, which minimizes risk, soaking in animal blood does not offer any safety assurances. The lack of sterilization and testing makes this practice not only unappealing but also dangerous.
Yeah.
In conclusion, while there may be some scientific interest surrounding specific components of blood, particularly regarding their use in medical treatments, the act of bathing in blood does not have any credible backing as a method for staying young. The risks involved far outweigh any speculative benefits suggested by folklore or sensationalized media portrayals.
Well, thank you, Crime Force. That last one was actually very interesting, and I'll get to that in a second. But thank you guys again. We appreciate you. All right, here we go. But let me tell you, that last one, what they kind of alluded to is in the blood and the plasma. Mm-hmm. They didn't come out and say it, but they could say, hey, if we use some of the young and put it with the old, I don't want to say cells. I'm not a doctor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There seemed to be some treatment that holds some promise that could help with rejuvenation. You talked about the things being put in the faces that people are wealthy. So in my mind, I'm wondering if, a woman who has some, mental issues maybe thought, okay, if I kill young women and I put their blood on me, maybe it wasn't a bath. But, and again, this is all sensationalism about this Elizabeth. But, a person who's not quite there could think, I want to say logically, but thinking in mind, hey, if I take a youthful person and incorporate what they can give me, I can become healthy. And it's weird to hear that maybe not bathing in blood, but there are some truth to the plasma and some, you get where I'm going. Like, yeah. That's kind of
that is
really
interesting. Back in the 1600s, she thought of something like that, which
if
is
that's
interesting,
true.
If it's true. But of course, like you said, the plasma, but like they also mentioned, like the blood, if the blood has disease or anything, that gets injected too. So that's why, there's blood types, right? Yeah, people go, and then sometimes you try to go to blood donation, you try to give blood. Sometimes they accept your blood and sometimes they don't.
They don't. Yeah. That was really cool. We learned that the video was well produced, very, very good.
Oh, yeah. It was a nice video.
And the Crime Force team did a great job answering those questions and providing a little extra insights. So that was great. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Any last words, Shirok?
I just want to say this was an interesting one, and I hope you'll like it as well. Studio 7-0.
We'll see you next time. All right. We out.
Crime Force.